Alright, what's going on YouTube? This is Keith with Less Magic, More Gathering. And we got some War of the Spark packs we're going to open up. If you get any background noise, it's because I'm in the barracks and I literally can't make everybody shut up. I can ask politely though. So that's what I've done. We'll see what happens. It's been a while since I posted a video. We've been doing a lot of training and trying to get ready for some top secret army shit, so I can't tell you about it, but that's why I've been gone. But we're going to try to get back into the swing of things. So I'm skipping all these commons. If you want to look at them, find them on the internet. So we're going to go through the uncommons and rares. Got a Merfolk Skydiver, green and a blue for a 1/1 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. And target, and what the hell, I can't read. When it enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. You can pay 5 to proliferate. I like having proliferate back because of cards like this next one. So you've got Davrio, Rogue Shadow Mage, 3-drop, 3 loyalty, with only a -1 ability. So having proliferate will let you pump those up so you can use them more frequently. That's only one of the benefits to having proliferate back in the standard. So pretty cool. And then Davrio, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if they have less than one or fewer cards in hand, it does 2 damage to them, and you can -1 to have them discard a card. This is actually a really decent card. You can get 2 activations out of it without any, additional help, and then it can really start to chip away at somebody's life total if they don't have a way to get rid of it and a way to draw some extra cards. So pretty decent card. I don't know if it'll make it like into standard competitive type decks, but it is a good card. We got a Price of Betrayal. It's 1 black for a sorcery. Remove up to 5 counters from target artifact, creature, planeswalker, or opponent. So it is at sorcery speed, but that'll take down most planeswalkers at most points in time, or at least get them further from their ultimate abilities if they're one that has that ability. So pretty decent card. It is sorcery speed, I think, is the only thing that hurts it. And then it can also get rid of counters on creatures, or if you've got a somebody that's got a artifact with counters on it, like your Primal Amulet, things like that, you can get rid of those. The opponent part, I don't know why you would take counters away from an opponent, but that's probably from a different format than I'm used to playing in. And our rare for this pack is a 5-drop instant. Search your library for 2 planeswalkers, put them in your hand. Not too bad. If you're playing some kind of a Super Friends type deck, this can be beneficial. Go and find the planeswalkers that you need at any particular point in time at instant speed, and then get them on the battlefield as quickly as possible without having to wait for that, to dig them out of your library. So not a bad pack, nothing crazy. Okay, we've got Bond of Passion here. 6-drop sorcery, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste until end of turn, and it does 2 damage to any other target. This feels really expensive for this ability. So you can pay 3 to steal something from somebody with like hijack, and then you can pay 1 to do shock. So I don't know. That's a total of 4. This is a total of 6 with the requirement for 2 red. It just seems way more expensive than it should be. Maybe I'm missing something though. No, I'm not. That card sucks. It sucks. We got Bolt Bend. It's a 4-drop instant. It costs 3 less to cast if you can control a creature with power 4 or greater. Change the target of target spell or ability with a single target. So you can cast it for 1 if you've got a creature power 4 or greater, which is not bad. That's not a bad rate for that ability. 4 seems expensive, but if you can do it for 1, that's a good efficiency. It's just got to be in the right deck. Got a Samut, Tyrant Smasher. 4-drop 5 loyalty. Creatures you control have haste. Target creature gets +2/+1 and gain haste until end of turn. And scry 1. So I don't know. I think that whoever in the development team came up with this wasn't. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. The ability gives a creature haste, but if Samet is on the battlefield, then everything has haste anyway. So it seems like a wasted ability. But the +2/+1 is nice, and it lets you scry, and it's only a -1. So there's upsides to it. Just the haste seems like it's shoved in there for no reason. So I think some combination of green-red is going to be a pretty competitive deck because they've got a lot of new additions that I think are going to help that deck out a lot. Finally, we've got Bolus's Citadel. 6-drop legendary artifact. You can look at the top card of your library at any time, and you can play that card by paying its mana cost in life. And then you can sacrifice 10 non-land permanents, and each opponent loses 10 life. So, obviously, you've got to have some kind of life gain in your deck, otherwise you're just going to kill yourself really quickly, especially that late in the game when you've got 3 blacks and 3 others. So, it's got to be in the right deck, but it's a fun card to build around. Could be interesting. And then we got Rubble Belt Riders, 3-drop 04 with haste. When it attacks, it gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So it's very similar to something like the Drake, Enigma Drake. Is that a thing? Crackling Drake, where it's got the 4 toughness and then an X essentially for its power. But it's only when it's attacking, which is very Gruul-like, so it makes sense. And then whatever your biggest creature is what its power is going to be. So it's not a bad card, especially in those colors. There's opportunities to have, really big creatures that way. So pretty neat. And it's already got haste, so if you've got some form of riot, you could just add a counter to it, and then it's going to get more on top of that. So it's pretty good. 2-drop sorcery here, Bond of Flourishing. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, reveal a permanent from among them and put it into your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in any order, and you gain 3 life. I think that the reason this costs 2 instead of 1 is because it lets you find any permanent, which is, artifact, enchantment, creature, land. There's probably others I'm forgetting about. Did I already say artifact? Probably so. But it'll let you get any permanent, so there's almost no chance you're going to miss on this, especially in green, because you're typically not running too many instant sorceries. So that's a pretty good card, and you gain 3 life out of it. A Dovan Hand of Control is a 3-drop 5 loyalty planeswalker that makes your instant, artifact, and sorcery spells that your opponents cast cost 1 more. And then you can -1, and until your next turn, you prevent all damage that would be dealt to and by target permanent opponent controls. This feels like it's a really good card against control, because it's going to make those spells that control is using very frequently cost more. So hopefully they either don't have the mana to do what they're wanting to do, or they have to use all their mana to cast the spells that they're wanting to cast. The -1 ability could be important, especially if you're looking down at a Galta or something like that. You can stop all that damage from one target. So that's pretty good. Widespread Brutality, I've found, is a pretty decent card. You amass 2, and then essentially your army that you created, or the army that you added counters to, kills something. Is typically how it's going to work out. That's a rare. You guys let me put it in the wrong pile. Good card, though. It's decent removal, and especially in a deck that's based around a mass, your creature might be huge-mongous. Alright, let's see. We're going to skip our commons here. Well, this dude's cool. Cyclops Electromancer is a 4/2 5-drop When it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to target creature an opponent controls, where X is the number of instant sorceries in your graveyard. So that's not bad. This is a really good pack, by the way. I snuck a peek at some things. We got the new art on a Johnny's Pridemate. Everybody knows what a Johnny's Pridemate is and does, so we'll leave that alone. And we do have another... Oh, this is the first one. Mowu, Loyal Companion. It's a 4-drop 3/3, Trample and Vigilance. And if one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on it, that many +1 are put on it instead. So a 3/3 for 4 with Trample and Vigilance is not bad, but then if you've also got ways to add +1/+1 counters to it, you're really getting into good territory then. So not a bad card. So we got an Ugin, the Ineffable. Nice card. 6-drop, 4 mana, or 4 loyalty. Planeswalker. Colorless spells that you cast cost 2 less. You can exile the top card of your library face down and look at it. You create a 2/2 colorless spirit creature token, and when that token leaves the battlefield, you put the exiled card into your hand. And then a -3 to destroy target permanent that is 1 or more colors. So this is repeatable removal and creatures and card draw. It's kind of a little bit of everything. And then when you compare, you consider the fact that you're probably going to have this in a deck with a bunch of artifacts and other colorless spells, then you're getting a lot of benefit out of it. So not a bad card. And we got the foil God Eternal Ronus. 5-drop, 5/5 with Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, you double the power and toughness of all your other creatures until end of turn, and they get Vigilance. So that is a really good finisher. It can act as a board sweeper at times if your opponents have to block your creatures so they don't die. So really good card. And that's one of the creatures that I was talking about that the Gruul deck got that's really going to benefit them. Alright. We got a D-Spark. Exile target permanent with converted mana cost 4 or greater. We got Ugin's Conjurant. Well, this is a X cost. It enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. And if it would take damage, then you remove that many +1/+1 counters instead and prevent the damage. So if you've already got Ugin out there that we just talked about, and you can only pay 1, then you're getting a 3/3 for 1 because of that Ugin's ability. So not a bad combo there. Then we've got Angrath, Captain of Chaos, 4-drop 5 loyalty. Creatures you control have menace and -2 ability of amass 2. So not bad, not bad. And then we've got Time Wipe. It's 5-drop sorcery. Return a creature you control to its owner's hand, then destroy all creatures. It's almost not fair. So that's a really good board wipe. A little bit expensive, but you do get to keep one of your creatures out of it. So in that color combo of blue and white, it gives you a sweeper. Typically, I think you would have to go with just a typical, destroy everything. But adding the blue in there, they've made it so that you get the ability to return something to your hand. So it's a good way to use the colors and stay on flavor. We got a Cruel Celebrant, 2-drop 1/2. When it or another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So I think it almost is a must-add for like the Aristocrats deck, because that can really add up and increase the speed of that deck. Then we've got a Rescuer Sphinx, 4-drop 3/2 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you may return a non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. If you do, it enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. So could be a 4/3 flyer for 4, which is okay. Just okay. That's all it is. Interplanar Beacon makes it so that whenever you cast a planeswalker, you gain a life, and you can pay 1 to add 2 different colors of mana and use that to cast your planeswalker spells. So good mana fixing there. We've got Sarkhan the Masterless, 5-drop 5 loyalty. When a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, Each dragon you control deals 1 damage to that creature. I feel like I had the 3-drop Sarkhan and the 6-drop Planeswalker deck Sarkhan in a Dragon's deck. I feel like this would be much better than the 6-drop. Not only is it cheaper, but it's more Dragon related. But it feels like it needs to be a Dragon themed deck or a Super Friends type deck, because the +1 ability turns all your other Planeswalkers into 4/4 red dragon creatures. So either Super Friends or Dragons, one or the other. And we got a foil Pollen Bright Druid common card. I'm going to do, looks like 4 more packs. 4 more packs for today, and then I gotta go. Alright, we got a Bond of Passion. I talked on that card earlier. I still think it's too expensive. My mind has not changed. Pledge of Unity is a 3-drop instant. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and you gain 1 life for each creature you control. So good with tokens, good with kind of like white weenies maybe, with some green added in, things like that. We got an Obnixilis, the Hate Twisted, 5-drop 5 loyalty. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Obnixilis deals 1 damage to them. Destroy target creature with the -2 ability, and its controller draws 2 cards. So with that ability on the battlefield, yes, you're letting your opponent draw 2 cards, but if you're destroying a big creature and doing 2 extra damage to them because of that -2, maybe it's okay. It's not a bad one, especially as a late game, can't quite finish him off. You put him down -2 so that your opponent has to draw a couple cards, and it might be that last punch you need to finish off a game. Our rare is Niheb, Dreadhorde Champion, 4-drop 5/4 with trample. When it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, you can discard any number of cards. If you do, you draw that many cards and add that much red mana. Until end of turn, that mana stays in your mana pool through the changing of phases and things. So Niheb seems to always have some kind of fancy ability that adds red mana to your mana pool. It's right on flavor. Is it good enough to make it into standard? There may be other 4-drops that are just going to be a little bit better, a little bit faster, things like that. But it's not a bad card. It's definitely fun and on flavor. Alright, we got a Mayhem Devil. It's a 3-drop 3/3. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, it deals 1 damage to any target. It's very situational. Sideboard card maybe. If something like Aristocrats becomes a part of the deck or the meta. Or if you're playing Aristocrats, obviously, every time one of your creatures dies, you can do an extra point of damage. So I feel like the Aristocrats plan has gotten a lot of new pieces that are really good in the last couple sets. You got a Tyrant Scorn, 2-drop instant. You choose one. Either destroy a creature with converted mana cost 3 or less, or return any creature to its owner's hand. So pretty basic couple abilities available there. Ashiok Dreamrender is a 3-drop 5 loyalty planeswalker. Spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause their controller to search their library. So I got this down on Arena against someone, can't remember what they were playing. It was land-based, and they kept returning their Evolving Wilds to the battlefield, sacking it, and going to search for more. But I got this out, and they realized that plan wasn't going to work anymore. So I can't remember what the deck was, but I know that this foiled their plans. But it's another one of those cards that's very situational. And then the -1 ability, target player mills 4, and you exile each opponent's graveyard. So the exiling of the graveyards is another situational ability that you may need, but it's really cool because it makes it so that if they have anything that can be targeted or returned from the graveyard or shuffled back into their library, it's just gone by using that ability one time. So it's pretty nice. Plane-wide Celebration. This is one of those cards that's kind of crazy, but it's also very expensive. It costs 7 to cast, and you choose 4, and you can choose any of those modes more than once. So you can either create a 2/2 citizen that's all colors. You can return a permanent from your graveyard to your hand. You can proliferate, or you can gain 4 life. And you can do that, choose 4, or choose 1 4 times, or choose 2 2 times. You know what it is. So lots of abilities on there. I think it's too expensive and going to be too slow to actually make it into any kind of competitive format. So we got Domri's Ambush. I like this card a lot. It's a 2-drop. You put a 1/1 counter on target creature, and then that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. So it's more than just your typical fight card, because it has your creature deal damage to the other, but it doesn't get any damage back, and it can target a planeswalker as well. Alright, we got Neoform. It's a 2-drop sorcery. As an additional cost, you have to sack a creature, and then you search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrifice creature's converted mana cost, plus put that card onto the battlefield with an additional counter on it, and then shuffle your library. So just a cool way to sack your creatures and get into bigger stuff if you want to. Next one is Vraska Swarm's Eminence. 4-drop, 5 loyalty. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals damage to a player or planeswalker, it gets a +1/+1 counter. And you can -2 to create a 1/1 black assassin creature token with Death Touch. And the ability, whenever this creature deals damage to a planeswalker, destroy that planeswalker. So it's very Vraska-like. Feels like it fits into the story and the lore very well. It's very much on flavor. Good job, wizards, you fucking goons. Alright, Single Combat is a 5-drop sorcery. Each player chooses a creature or planeswalker they control, then sacrifices the rest. Players can't cast creature or planeswalker spells until the end of your next turn. So just kind of pretty much a board wipe. They get to keep one thing, and it does affect you, but you also get to choose your best thing and keep it, so not too bad. Probably right about perfect for the mana cost there. Seems right. It's kind of a choose your champion situation, I think that's what they were going there. What's the flavor text say? Not even a threat to the entire multiverse could persuade them to put aside their feud. Yeah, flavor text doesn't really match what I was thinking, but you choose your best and I choose mine, and we're gonna fight each other. Alright, we got Storm the Citadel. It's a 5-drop sorcery. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker. Destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. So it's kind of situational. They have to have a enchantment or artifact to really take full advantage of it, but it's probably a really good sideboard card for like a Gruul deck that has some extra mana maybe. And then we got a Lazatep Plating. 2-drop, amass 1, and then you and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. So it's probably not going to replace Dive Down, but it's a similar effect, to get you. But the nice thing is you can target yourself, and it lets you amass 1. So there's benefits to it. I don't know if it'll take the place of the 1-drop Dive Down, though. And then we got a Tybalt Rakish Interrogator, far and above better than the original Tybalt. This one's a 3-drop, 5 loyalty. Makes it so your opponents can't gain life, and you can create a 1/1 red devil. The devil creatures, when they die, they deal 1 damage to any target. So, I don't know if this will be something that may end up in a red standard deck somewhere, but could be. Being able to make it so your opponents can't gain life is kind of a big deal. I feel like they printed this just specifically because they had to ban the dinosaur, the whatever the hell the dinosaur's name is. And the last card of this particular opening is going to happen while the lawnmower is going outside. It's Awakening of Vitu-Ghazi. 5-drop, put 9 1/1 counters on a land you control, and it becomes Vitu-Ghazi, creature, elemental creature. It's still a land. So, nice thing, this is instant speed. It's a little expensive at 5, but you are getting a 9/9 essentially out of it, so that's not bad. Yeah, good card. Not a bad bunch of packs here. I got to keep them a little bit shorter than I'd like, but we'll get more frequent videos in this way. So I appreciate you sticking with me. Sorry about the lawnmower. We'll see you next time. Deuces.